上当百年，欺世大官.
From 1989 until today, the Chinese Communist Party never dared to issue the casualties during the June 4th Tiananmen Square massacre. However, the dictatorship government's secrets won't vanish even if they conceal the truth. In March 1996, according to the Chinese Academy of Social Science, in April, May, and early June of 1989, protests and rallies of 5,000 or more people took place in 21 cities nationwide, with a total of 3.72 million people participating. Among them were college students and staff, workers, farmers, Communist Party government candidates, intellectuals, Democrat Party members, demobilized veterans, primary and secondary school students and teachers, retired workers, etc. Due to the lack of independent investigation, the number that CCP provided was not convincing. In 2013, Soviet Union files declassified by Russia claims that over 3,000 people were killed during the Tiananmen Square massacre. There was an interesting conversation below in the declassified archives, when Lukyanov said that the real number of deaths at Tiananmen Square was 3,000. Gorbachev replied saying, "We must be realistic, we must face the reality. They, CCP, must defend themselves just like us. Who cares if the number was 3,000? Several years ago, on the eve of June 4th, Bao Tong, who was secretary of the then General Secretary of the Communist Party, Zhao Ziyang, in a video transferred out of China, Bao Tong noted that in the June 4th massacre, the Chinese Communist Party suppressed the unarmed students. They committed a crime against humanity, and it was a miscarriage of justice. It can't be treated like nothing happened." He also revealed for the first time, based on statistics from the Chinese Red Cross, in 1989, the number of deaths under the bloody crackdown was almost 2,000. There was also previous evidence pointing towards how there were thousands of deaths during the June 4th massacre, as follows. 1. In the early morning of June 4th, announcements were made by the Chinese Red Cross and hospitals, saying there were 2,600 to 2,700 deaths, while some Western intelligence agencies reported higher numbers. 2. Peking University Student Self-Governance Association and the Beijing Association of Universities sent out 28 school buses to dozens of hospitals. Their findings matched with the Red Cross numbers. 3. In his book, American scholar Timothy Brooks said the number of deaths in 11 hospitals on June 4th totaled 478. Therefore, he speculated that the entire Beijing with 124 hospitals should have around 2,800 deaths, which once again matched with the Red Cross and the two student associations numbers. Since the above figures were only for the day of June 4th, based on the hospital's results, many more could have died outside the hospital or went missing. For example, Wang Weilin, more commonly known as the Tank Man, was not counted in the above figures. Some said Wang was shot by the army after being dragged away. Based on the above information, number of people killed during the Tiananmen Square massacre can only be higher than 3,000. According to the declassified Canadian archives, Canadian embassy personnel in Beijing recorded a student's testimony in 1989, in which the student told what he saw and heard during the clearing of Tiananmen Square in the early hours of June 4th, including his witness of about 200 students holding hands around the statue of the goddess of democracy, shouting, "We are not afraid to die, we are not afraid to give our young blood for the future of our country." Then, soldiers on tanks fired machine guns at them, and tanks ran over people and bodies in the square. This personal experience once again exposed the Chinese Communist Party's lies, denying that shots were fired in Tiananmen Square. If the death of several thousand people has already shown the world the brutality of the Chinese Communist Party, then the archives revealed by the White House will scare people even more. A weekly magazine of Hong Kong's Apple Daily published in 2014 on the 25th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre, in which classified U.S. White House files showed that up to 40,000 people were either killed or injured on June 4th, and 10,455 of them were killed. The report said the classified files are now in the archives of former U.S. President George H.W. Bush. Most of the documents related to the massacre were written in Beijing by the U.S. Ambassador to China, Jieming Li. and some came from the then Hong Kong Consul General Anderson. Through their informants, they obtained the following information. 1. 8,726 people were killed at Tiananmen Square and Chang'an Street from June 3rd to 4th. From June 3rd to 9th, 1,728 people were killed in Beijing outside Tiananmen Square, making a total of 10,454 deaths at the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. 2. The Central 27th Army, commanded by a relative of the then Chinese President Yang Shangkun, was responsible for the massive bloodshed on June 3rd and 4th because this army had the most lethal weapons. They killed anyone they saw in Tiananmen Square, including other military troops, which triggered some domestic conflicts within the Chinese army. The US files also documented some horrific events. For example, about 1,000 students were told that they could hide at Zhengyi Road near the Beijing Hotel, but when they arrived, they were ambushed and fired upon aimlessly by soldiers. Another case documented that the ambulance from the 27th Army arrived at Tiananmen Square trying to support the troops, but they were killed by fellow soldiers who acted like madmen. It was revealed that members of the 27th Army had to obey their superiors' orders, or their lives were at risk. According to Wu Renhua, the author of the book Inside the Bloody Clearance at Tiananmen Square, the Chinese 38th Army was the most ferocious army in the Tiananmen Square massacre, and the 27th Army was also one of the armies that suppressed the students. Wu Renhua also collected the names of some of the officers and soldiers of the 27th Army Group who participated in the crackdown, including the Army Commander, Major General Qian Guoliang, the Deputy Armor Commander, Major General Huang Xinsheng, the Deputy Political Commissar, Major General Chen Xuezheng, and the Chief of Staff, Major General Wang Liangjun. Public data showed among the above four major generals, Qian Guoliang became a commander of Shenyang Military Region in 1999. He was promoted to general officer in 2002. Huang Xinsheng, who was deputy commander of Nanjing Military Region, was promoted to general officer in 1996. Chen Xuezheng later became deputy director of the political department of Beijing Military Region. Wang Liangjun later became deputy chief of staff of Beijing Military Region. These four officials are still alive today, but we wonder if they ever felt guilty for what they committed. In addition, the White House files also documented the indiscriminate killings by the 27th Army, which later caused some conflicts within the army. Jiang Zemin was also in Beijing on the day of the massacre. By then, he has been chosen by Deng Xiaoping as his successor. There is no doubt that the White House file once again confirmed how brutal the Chinese Communist Party really is. This anti-human dictatorship government owns a bloody debt, and one day they will repay it twice as much. Justice may be late, but it will never be absent. The June 4th massacre by the Chinese Communist Party and its executioners have been nailed to the pillar of shame in history forever. Such a regime is doomed to be spurned by the people. Thank you for watching today's video. That is it for this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you in another video.